Hi everyone, today I wanted to share with you some resources that I have gathered for an upcoming unit study that we're going to be doing for my 4th grader and my 7th grader about immigration. So I'd originally planned to work this in during our US history next year for my daughter, but she's going to be talking about immigration in her Curiosity Chronicles snapshots of modern history in the upcoming weeks. And just with our current kind of political climate, I thought, this is probably important to do now. So I just wanted to share with you some of the resources that we plan on using, because there were a lot out there. And what I have chosen is maybe a third of what I actually brought in and looked at from the library. And if my kids were older, as in maybe closer to high school age, some of these resources would be different. But the ones I picked are the ones that I think work best for the age of my kids right now. There's a really good book, there's a really good series actually called Opposing Viewpoints, and there is an immigration one in that series that I think would be great, but it's just not quite, I think, at the right level for us right now. So this is a topic I'm sure we will revisit. So again, these are just some of the things that we're going to use. I kind of have three main spines, I guess, if you will, that we're going to use. So I'll share those with you first. So the first one is a book from Nomad Press called Inquire and Investigate: Immigration Nation, the American Identity in the 21st Century. I really like the Nomad Press books. This is one that's for, I think, a slightly older audience. Yeah, 12 to 15, ages 12 to 15. So anyway, I think that this is one that we are definitely going to be using. And I don't know if we will do all of the activities. So the way these typically work is you have a chapter, that's the introduction, but at the end of every chapter, there's usually an activity. A lot of times they'll ask you to kind of make a notebook to keep your information in, but in this particular series, they're called Inquire and Investigate. Some of them looked a little bit dry. I don't know that we'll do all of them, but I like the information that's in this book. So this will kind of be one of our jumping off points to get us started, and then we'll kind of deep dive from here based on things that we read. So the chapters are called The Golden Door, A Backward Look, The Gatekeepers, The Push and the Pull, The Welcome Mat, America's Changing Face, Immigration Reform, Out of Many, One. So I also like that this has vocabulary throughout each chapter for words that you might not be familiar with. Here's a vocab lab. So typically in the younger books, the words will be bolded throughout the chapter, and then they'll have a list of them here. But here we have vocab lab. Write down what you think each word means. What root words can you find to help you? What does the context of the word tell you? And then they have a list of words that you can use. So I like that as well. So we always do really well with the Nomad Press books, so I think that this one will be no different. It says it invites readers to explore the history of immigration in the United States through the perspectives of immigrants, citizens, and policymakers. I guess that's the other thing, is I really want to get a strong foundation of the history of our immigration, where we've been, a factual history of immigration, I guess, in this country. And I think that this will be a good jumping off. This one was called This Land is Our Land, A History of American Immigration. And I believe I heard about this one on Emily's channel from Build Your Library. Her channel is called ARG Schooling. And I believe she mentioned this one. It was recommended. I'm sure it's part of one of her levels of Build Your Library, but I think she made a video after the election. I think this was one that she included. And I really liked that this one is really kind of from the perspective of you're really kind of seeing different stories. So it says American attitudes towards immigration are paradoxical. On the one hand, Americans see their country as a haven for the poor and oppressed. Anyone, no matter what his or her background, can find freedom in the United States. On the other, depending on economic conditions and changing feelings about race and ethnicity, the American government sets boundaries on who may enter the country and whether they may stay as citizens. This Land is Our Land explores the way government policy and popular responses to immigrant groups have evolved throughout history, and the fundamental ways in which immigration forms an essential part of the American identity. This book also recounts the experiences of 3 centuries of immigrants in their own words. So I really liked that part of it as well. And this one's kind of split up somewhat geographically as far as kind of where different people came from. So we have Germans, Irish, and nativists, Italians, Jews, and Eastern Europeans, immigrants from Asia, Latin American immigrants, and then refugees. And then the last chapter is from World War II into the 21st century. I like the photographs in this one as well. So I think that this will be a good one. This one, so the first 2 we will likely group read out loud together. I have multiple copies. This one we will just take turns reading, and then we can kind of discuss it because this one is a graphic novel. But I really like this World Citizen Comics series. We read our first one as part of the Mint and Bloom election study, and it was called Fault Lines in Our Constitution, I believe. And that one was really, really great. So I thought this would be good for this immigration study. It's called Born in the USA. The story of immigration and belonging. And again, it is a graphic novel. But my kids learn really well from graphic novels, and it's something that they can read through quicker than kind of a full text book. So these 3, where did I put the other one? Are kind of our main 3 that we're going to be working through together. So in addition to the books that we are going to work through together, I also have a stack of what I'm calling readers. These are novels and graphic novels that I would like my kids to read some of. They're not going to read all of these, but the plan is that if we're talking, say, about refugees, maybe I would pull a couple of the novels that kind of have that as their topic, and they could pick one to read, just so that they get another view and information in a slightly different way of what we're talking about, a more maybe personal experience. Even though these are written, obviously, like this one is a fiction story, they still might connect with the experience better in something like this than they might in the nonfiction books that we're reading. So I'll just show you kind of what I have here. This one is called Finally Seen by Kelly Yang. She, I believe, wrote the Front Desk series, if I'm not mistaken, which my daughter really loves, so I think she will like this. And there's a second one to this called Finally Heard, which I also think looks excellent, so I'll probably get that one as well. But this is about a 10-year-old girl named Lena who is coming to America for the first time, seeing her, and it's the first time seeing her parents and her little sister in 5 years. So her parents and her little sister came to the United States ahead of her, and then it was finally time for her to join them. And so you kind of get her experience in this story of what that's like. So I think that one looks good, and I think the second one looks good as well. This one is called Other Words for Home. This was a Newbery Honor book, and this one says, Jude never thought she'd be leaving her beloved older brother and father behind, all the way across the ocean to Syria. But when things in her hometown start becoming volatile, Jude and her mother are sent to live in Cincinnati with relatives. At first, everything in America seems too fast and too loud. The American movies that Jude has always loved haven't quite prepared her for starting school in the U.S. and for her new label of Middle Eastern, an identity she's never known before. But this life also brings unexpected surprises. There are new friends, a whole new family, and a school musical that Jude might just try out for. Maybe America, too, is a place where Jude can be seen as she really is. So that's that one. We have When Stars Are Scattered, which my daughter already read this one, but my son has not read it. So, and I have read it as well. But I think my daughter might like to reread it, and I think my son would benefit from reading that as well. We also have Illegal. And again, this is another graphic novel. So I've got a lot of graphic novels. 5 of the 7 books I have here in this kind of readers pile are graphic novels. And that's for 2 reasons. 1, because there's just a lot of excellent graphic novels out there. And 2, because my kids can read through these a lot quicker than, say, something like this. So we can get through more. So anyway, this is another one that we have. Oh, let me show you the back on this one. It says his brother Kwame has disappeared, and Ibo knows it can only be to attempt the hazardous journey to Europe and a better life, the same journey their sister embarked on a month ago. But Ibo refuses to be left behind in Ghana. Ibo's epic quest takes him across the Sahara Desert to the dangerous streets of Tripoli and finally out to the merciless sea. But with every step, he holds on to his hope for a new life and a reunion with his family. It explores the current plight of immigrants searching for a new beginning. All right, and then I have The Circuit. Again, it's another graphic novel. And this one says, an honest and evocative account of a family's journey from Mexico to the fields of California into a life of backbreaking work and constant household moves, as seen through the eyes of a boy who longs for education and the right to call one place home. Okay, and then I also have George Takei's They Called Us Enemy. And this one is in black and white. Says he has captured hearts and minds worldwide with his captivating stage presence and outspoken commitment to equal rights. But long before he braved new frontiers in Star Trek, he woke up as a 4-year-old boy to find his own birth country at war with his father's and their entire family forced from their home into an uncertain future. In 1942, at the order of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, every person of Japanese descent on the West Coast was rounded up and shipped to one of 10 relocation centers, hundreds or thousands of miles from home, where they would be held for years under armed guard. They Called Us Enemy is Takei's first-hand account of those years behind barbed wire, the joys and terrors of growing up under legalized racism, his mother's hard choices and his father's faith in democracy, and the way those experiences planted the seeds for his astonishing future. All right, and then lastly, I have this one that just came out today, actually. This is a new title in the History Comics series. This is Ellis Island, Immigration and the American Dream. It says many Americans know someone who can trace their ancestry through Ellis Island, in addition to being part of the world-famous Statue of Liberty National Monument. This small piece of land once housed the main immigration processing center for the United States, documenting upwards of 12 million people between 1892 and 1954. Over the generations, Ellis Island has taken on an almost mythic status as a beacon of hope to those seeking freedom and refuge from persecution. But how did it all get started? Why New York? And how did this historic landmark manage to rebuild after being burned down by a massive fire and pummeled by the epic hurricane known as Superstorm Sandy? Discover the storied past of this former gateway to the United States and the countless people who it continues to inspire. So you can't really talk about immigration without talking about Ellis Island. So I feel like this will be a good one. This is one I think we will all read, actually, much like we will do with this one. So that's what I have for kind of our spines and readers. And then I do have a couple of picture books. I will likely pull in more things like this each week, depending on what we're reading in the main books. But these are 2 that I grabbed to get us started. This is What is a Refugee? And it says, why do they need to leave their country? Are they always welcomed into their new country? This is a simple picture book to understand why a refugee is just like you and me. So I like when I can incorporate picture books, even though my kids are 9 and 12. I still think that it's a good way to introduce different topics. So I liked that one. And then I grabbed this one, which is not specifically explicitly about immigration, but I think you can definitely use it kind of to, you can use it like symbolically, I guess. This is The Wall in the Middle of the Book by John Agee. And you can kind of see what's going on here. He sees this wall in the middle of the book. It's a good thing there's a wall because it protects this side of the book from the other side of the book. And they go on about how the other side, this side of the book is safe, the other side of the book is not safe. And that there is an ogre on the other side of the book and he will eat him up. But you can see kind of what's happening on this side of the book. This kind of thing is not supposed to happen on this side of the wall. Oh no. And what happens here, we have the ogre who kind of rescues him. And then he's like, oh no, I'm on the other side of the book. So, and then he shows him around. So anyway, you can use this to just, and you can talk literally to your kids about what's on the pictures, or you can use it kind of the symbolism, you know, of xenophobia or whatever else. So I feel like this has a lot of, there's a lot of different opportunities or ways you can use this. So I grabbed that one as well. So that is what I have for our immigration unit study. If I find other readers, I will likely pull them in from the library during certain weeks just to give my kids some more options, but these were the ones that I kind of liked the best from the research that I did. So that's what the resources that we are planning to use, or I should say, those are the book resources that I have for our immigration unit study. We will be bringing in other videos and online resources as well, but I thought for today I would just share with you kind of the book resources that we have ready to go. If you have any other amazing resources that you think I should include, please feel free to let me know. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer them down in the comments.